It's been a while, a long time actually, since I've stayed at a proper youth hostel on my own. I'm a little too old for that these days, but I had to make an exception for this, my capital city of my home country, Ottawa, and this particular hostel, which just so happens to be located in a jail. Not a working jail, but a former turn of the century jail that actually, the building I believe dates to almost 200 years old. This would be the St. Lo Jail Hostel. Now this was formerly a YHA. It's a converted jail building that has an unfortunate past according to the history of how the inmates were treated in this particular facility. But I couldn't pass up the opportunity to stay in such a unique historic building, especially for my own country. Thus, here we are at the St. Lo Jail. I don't want to make presumptions, but this large wall that actually surrounds the property, I believe, is the original prison wall that hasn't been removed. I'm sure we'll find out more once we get inside the grounds, but I wanted to get as many shots as I could outside of this rather confined space as I could before getting inside there. In addition to this being a unique jail building, there has not been much that's been converted inside. So we're going to give you a full room tour in the experience because I've booked myself a jail cell for the night. So let's see what it's all about, staying in a jail in Ottawa without having committed a crime. All right, let's go inside. So the washrooms are communal because this is a hostel. You'll notice that this is an intact jail. It's actually remarkable. There's not much that's changed in this place, including a very kind of cool feature. They don't have it on these cells, but in the cells of which there were some notorious inmates, they've created plaques. And most of the offenses pretty questionable. This is actually just the washroom. It's not too busy in the hostel today, so I can't really complain about the cleanliness of the facilities. 2 stainless steel grade toilets. A lot better than jail toilets. Good luck getting out of here. Delphine Normand, keeping a house of ill fame. Fortunately, you get your own key. Welcome to jail. It was just a little over $100 to book this, although if I booked it a little earlier, I probably would have saved $20. Lots of coat racks. Mirror. The criminal code, which is a great way of putting the rules and regs for the facility in order for you. You have a convenient light switch, an outlet, not located close to this device. I believe is an iPad holder with a light fixture in it. It's actually really tiny. It's going to be an interesting experience. Showers are located on this side in this facility here, which you can see is not very bright. I don't know if this is... Yeah, that's a shower, all right. Let's go in the depths. Oh, there you go. All right, well, this is pretty much what I expected. It's actually very clean. I'll say this place has been renovated very recently, and it shows. I'll give you a pressure review next time, but for a prison shower, it's looking all right. It's also the same size as a cell. So this is the main stairwell, which I have to do a bit of an explore. There is actually a full tour of this facility that's available for any guest at 11 o'clock, of which we will finish off this vlog with. But for now, we just are exploring it on its own. This quite remarkable building. Renovations. It's a very interesting little factoid that this place is full of history. Anti-suicide bars. So this stairwell, the bars and the grating in between was actually installed to prevent anyone from actually jumping to their death down the stairwell. It's a really harsh reminder of what really happened here back in the day. Okay, a little behind the scenes as it's after hours in prison. Right, we gotta be quiet because the warden is downstairs and he's really an ass. Could you imagine living in a chamber this size? It's absolutely madness. It's so tiny. It's like, I'd say 11 feet by 12. Something like that. Like 12 feet. Maybe 12 feet high. 3, 1, 2, 4 feet wide. There's no shelf or anything. Like, okay, we have 5 coat racks. That's great. There's no shelf for like waiting. This is the only shelf available. Yeah, maybe shaving cream. Yeah, fits one of those. Perfect. Excellent. Although I just realized the benefit of this hostel is that just going down the hallway, the people that are snoring, you're not going to hear them when you are in this cell. Although for some reason they have earplugs in the lobby that you can, I think, take free of charge. I will have questions about that later. But so far, jail is pretty cool. We are all done with our sleep in jail. I did want to bring up a couple of points about the place after having my rest and packing up, but the bonus is that we actually are going to be going on a jail tour later, so a lot more detail of the facility in that I've decided to hold off on, despite there being things all throughout the hostel that are really interesting to look at. I'm sure that's going to be covered in the museum tour itself. So we're going to actually go to the other side of town for another vlog at Sussex Drive, etc., where the President or Prime Minister of Canada lives. But thoughts on the hostel. First thing I was thinking about is the doors to each individual cell. Unfortunately, over the years, because of the weight of the gate or the grating, that metal door that they have there fixed, it drags across the ground and makes a really, really loud noise. So if you're planning on getting a good night's sleep, plan to only get it until people start opening those doors in the morning, because it will definitely wake you up. Had to turn on the hot water in the bathroom in order to shave for you all today, which was kind of annoying. I don't like going to places where I notice that the hot water's been turned off in certain areas. The shower was decent enough pressure. At least there was hot water in the shower and I didn't have to wait. In fact, it was scorchingly hot. So that was really nice, refreshing, good shower. No issues there. Very solid little stay. A lot of people here doing business staying in that hostel, which I found very funny. It's like, could you be sleeping next to a diplomat that's snoring that you can hear through the walls, or those concrete walls, or the brick walls of that jail? Is it possible that somebody's sleeping on the other side of that brick wall in your cell that's snoring and is audible through that? Could be a diplomat for some country that has a meeting this morning, it being Monday morning right now. Anyhow, bus wants me to cross the street. We'll see you at the tour.
It's a lot worse than Shawshank, and we since decided to preserve this as the solitary confinement cell that it is. So, yeah, alright, so we shall move on. And if you want to take a moment to read the plaque.
So we got to this tour late, so just wanted to cover a couple things. This is a solitary confinement cell of which people were kept in with no light or sound and in their original clothing. 160 inmates in total were in this facility. We're in the basement now. We're actually on level 2.
Ages 8 and 9, and they were sentenced for murder at the time, and they were put into this prison. It's terribly legal for us to display that, because saying it actually was used of real people. But let's give it a moment. And this over here is quite fascinating. That is display that. Alright. Elevators would be nice.
Those are all originals? For sure,
Yes,
yeah.
they are 100% standing in the preserved original area. Absolutely. This was the stairwell that they used to lead the prisoners to their cells. The prisoners were kept on levels 4, 6, and 8. So those were all the sides where the prisoners were kept. Levels 5 and 7 were the guard station. And level 9 was the hospital. The guard stations were heated and had accommodations for the families of the guards. So they had heated bathrooms, showers, and food and kitchens. And the prison itself, though, for the prisoners, was never heated. Not once. Not in 110 years of operation was there ever heat. So people would often die from hypothermia and pneumonia and frostbite. This was level 8. This side is also a regular prison. What's more is about levels 4, 6, and 8 were all the jail. But here's the thing, if you look into these cells, they're not very spacious, and they would jam up to 8 people in them. 8 people? 8 people. Each cell? Each cell. Up to 8 people per cell. And they would just take the prisoners and put them in there, and just keep them in there for however long they had to. Except in the summertime, where they would let people out for up to 12 hours a day. But they just would take people and put them in there. And what's more is the system back there, if you can call it a system, felt that if you had committed a crime, no matter what the crime was or what the severity was, you were considered a criminal. So they really didn't classify or care. Yes, they did separate white gender because they didn't want people to murder. That's gross when you think about it. Changing the living ones every 2 days. And more in the Americans did not have glass panes until the year 38 years into Latin and slow. And then the other year never spent that. And that's the real deal. I recommend don't pick it up, but you're welcome to kick it.
How much a night for this room?
If you were sentenced to death row, this is where you were staying. Everyone who slept in these cells down this row were sentenced to death row. And weirdly and ironically, they made the cells a little bit more spacious because they wanted people to have a little more comfortable. These stairs were the stairs designed strictly for the prison guards themselves. Only the guards ever used these stairs, never the prisoners. So what they did was that when certain prisoners were awful or violent or uncooperative, the guards would take them and hang them off of this beam. You'll notice on the left-hand side is a lot more discolored and depressed than the right side. That's where the unofficial hangings took place. And if someone activates the light on their phone, you can see the groove marks and rope marks into the beam, which unfortunately, yeah, you can see the rope marks and stuff, which unfortunately is absolute proof that people were hung in here unofficially. It's never been said how many people they killed inside of these stairs off of that beam. But over there, perfectly perpendicular, over here, depressed and cut down, because that would be where people would do it. That's a real 19th century gallows right there. Ottawa would not allow us to absolutely tear this down because that's the real rope, that's the real split in the floor. And so this is a real rope. Real rope, yeah. That rope is from 1972. And what they did was they preserved it.
So the floor behind is like you can't open for
To see the execution, yeah.
Oh.
There's the guards.
Oh.
People who were. Step right here. Look up. And that's the original gallows right there. Look up, and that's the original gallows. Look up. Look up. That's it. That's the real thing. That's the whole real gallows and everything. And we close the door now. And so I was doing this tour recently. Someone put a giant Kentucky Fried Chicken sticker here. So I don't think that's part of the historical jail tour. People would plummet through there and just hang and be killed instantly and humanely after the initial hanging of Patrick Whalen. And they would just hold them there dramatically for several minutes to, again, drive home the point. And then you might be wondering, since this stairwell is strictly built for the prisoners only, this would be the area where the guards place it as votes and breaks. And
Sorry, spectators, but is that what predominantly that is about? Or just folks? I imagine that building obviously wasn't there before. So
the neighborhood next door was still grass rolled over into this, over top of this one. Stand up there, look over by a lot of people who stay here at the jail often don't drive. So we often, the hostelers and I often enter through the front of the prison and leave through the front of the prison. So very few people actually see this angle right here. So I want to show you the real side of it. And this is the absolute courtyard where people stayed, and we're outside 12 hours a day, literally kicking the dust, reminiscing, and just grateful to be outside. And all the guards stopped them right there, let them out to here, and unfortunately beat him so bad that he did die.
That is the jail hostel tour all wrapped up. I did need to mention, though, that the reason why those bars are missing from that window behind me, I didn't capture it on the tour, is that a rather wealthy prisoner had bribed a guard to get a file to remove those bars over a certain amount of time. He unfortunately could not rely on that guard being faithful, and he told some of his colleagues so that when he actually got out of the cell and then escaped through this gateway behind me here, that he was beaten to death, unfortunately. And then they left that cell intact to remind people that you shouldn't do that. You should probably stay where you're at. pretty bad story. But yeah, that's very fascinating history about this hostel and the jail in total. I didn't actually know how many, human rights crimes were committed in this building, let alone underneath this area where there are bodies probably still buried. So that's going to be a wrap here, guys, from the really palatial looking hostel behind me, which unfortunately has a dark past. There is also claims that it's haunted as well. So like I said, the only sounds that I heard at night were from the snoring of fellow inmates. This hostel will hold in roughly around 140 people at peak season. It's not right now, it's actually pretty dead. So definitely come down here and take advantage of it. I would definitely recommend it. It's not the greatest sleeping accommodation, but if you want to do something unique and experience exactly what it was like to be in really a British penal system jail from the 1850s all the way up to 1972 when this jail closed down. Another interesting fact, Prince Philip actually visited it that year because he had heard bad stories about the conditions of this place. It still didn't have running toilet facilities, had no heating, no air conditioning in any of the cell areas. He came here and he said, we're shutting the whole thing down. He fired the entire staff, and then this place was turned into a hostel a year later. So there's a lot of history behind this building. I don't think I've really covered all of it. I didn't record the whole tour, so definitely come down here. It's free of charge. Do the tour. You'll be amazed by what you find out about the history of Ottawa, Ontario in relation to this building behind me. All right, guys, thanks for dropping in.